Is it possible to make a gel print with this much color in the background and this much pattern going on with just one pull? The answer is yes. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a multi-layered gel print with one pull. And to make this gel print, I used 3 or 4 different stencils on this gel plate. I kept layering on layer of paint after layer of paint, and then I finally did just one pull with this piece of watercolor paper. Hi, my name is Jenna McLean. I am a printmaker. I do cyanotypes, gel prints, block prints, silk screening, and I also do surface design in Photoshop and Illustrator. And my goal in this channel is to help you become a better printer and to learn new techniques with printing and to have a lot of fun with it. So let's get into this, but first I just want to say stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to show you how to get your hands on my free gel printing supply list. It's chock full of information and it has the links to all the products that you see here in this particular video. Let's get started with this project. I'm using my 5 by 7 inch gel plate, and here I have a stencil. And I'm going to place this right here. But there are other stencils here that are open and I don't want paint to go through them. So I'm going to take some painter's tape. I'm going to cover over these areas to make sure I don't get paint on them. I'm going to take some paint, and I recommend that for your image, the main image that you want to be the center point of your design, I recommend that you use a darker colored paint. I'm just going to squeeze that right onto the stencil, and I'm deliberately using a small brayer for this project. This is 2 inches wide, but the barrel of this is not that huge. This is also a 2-inch brayer, but you can see the difference in the size. So just very carefully go like this. And then I'm going to lift all of this up. I've got some smudging here. I'm going to clean that up with a baby wipe. But now what you have to do is you have to step away from this plate. You have to be patient, let it dry. And then we're going to come back once this is dry and we're going to add the other layers of paint. I really glommed a lot of paint on the plate when I made that little green print. So while it's drying, I want to have a little discussion about paper. When you're doing a multi-layer pull like this, you're going to use one piece of paper to pull up a whole bunch of layers of paint. Your regular printmaking paper is probably not going to be good enough. It may be too thin, it may tear. So I highly recommend, if you're doing this project, to go with a heavier weight paper. Don't go with copy paper. Don't go with your regular printing paper if that's what you use. I am using a piece of watercolor paper. It's about 140 GSM, and that's what I'm going to use to lift up my print because it really is doing some heavy lifting. It's going to be pulling up about 4 layers of paint. So what does 140 GSM mean? Well, if you're familiar with watercoloring or printing, you know what these terms mean, but if you're new to it, I'm going to explain it. Papers come in different weights. This is my basic sketchbook, and here you see 120 GSM. What does that mean? GSM stands for grams per square meter. This is my sketchbook paper. If you had a meter, which is about a yard of this paper, and you put it on a scale, the mass would be about 120 grams, okay? Watercolor paper and other papers like cardstock, they also have the same kind of designation. This is a watercolor paper, and if you look here, it says it's 146 grams per square meter. And this grams per square meter is a term often used in the UK and other parts of the world outside the United States. In the United States, in the printing industry, they tend to use a different system called pounds. This is 90-pound paper, and that's what I'm using for this particular project. I cut a piece of this paper to pull the print because it's heavier. So when you buy paper, you have to kind of search it all over for it to see what kind of weight it has. Okay, so here down at the bottom of this Strathmore paper, it says that it's 90 pounds, 190 grams per meter squared. And the bigger the number, the higher number, the heavier the paper. And this is 207 grams per square meter. So what I did, this is just a little simple hack to make my life easier, because I don't have the patience every time I'm looking for paper to go searching for this information. I took a piece of masking tape one day, I put it at the top of the pad of paper, and I wrote down what weight it is. This is 300 grams per square meter. This is really heavy watercolored paper. The information is way down here. So that's why you see these pieces of masking tape on top of my pads of paper. It's just a very simple organizational system I set up so that when I'm busy and I'm doing a project and I want to grab a certain weight of paper, I don't have to wade through all these tiny little numbers that you see scattered all over the front of the paper pack. So with the American system, 90 pounds means that if you had 500 sheets of this paper and you put them on a scale, it would weigh 90 pounds. So whether you're using the European system or the American system, that's what these numbers mean. It's just a reference to how heavy the paper is. Now, don't sweat it. You don't have to run out and buy 146 GSM paper for this project. Just find watercolor paper of any kind. You could use regular old cardstock. Just find something thicker than copy paper or regular standard printing paper. Don't get crazy about the weight of the paper when it comes to these specific numbers. Just get something that's going to be heavy enough to lift up all these layers of paint. Now I'm going to use another stencil on top of this to add the next layer. And this particular stencil is not bigger than the plate. Sometimes you can buy stencils that are pretty big and then they cover the entire plate, in which case you can just lay them down and just brayer right over it. But because this is not as big as the plate, I'm going to be very careful when I brayer because I don't want to create a line that runs down here. I'm going to put this down, go over it with some paint very carefully, avoiding this, and then I'm going to set this down again and do some more brayering like that. So what happens is when you're doing these multi-layer prints, you should start with smaller stencils at this stage of the game, and they should get bigger and bigger. The stencils should get larger. This is the next one I'm going to use, and then the last one I'm going to use is even bigger still. I'm referring to the design. Also, when you start at this particular paint layer, you should go with brightest and most vibrant colors first, and then by the time we're getting to the very end, we're going with lighter paint colors. So brighter and more vibrant to lighter, smaller size stencils to larger. Don't worry, don't think that you have to remember that. Below this video in the description, I will put that down. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to put this paint on a piece of acrylic over here, a piece of plexiglass. I'm going to start to roll this out. I'm going to set this down. I have a piece of scrap paper off to the right where I'm going to roll off excess paint. Let's get some of this lilac shade in here. And I don't want to go and create great big swaths of color. We're just really trying to get little dabs of color here and there, which is why I'm using this brayer with the smaller barrel. Being careful not to go to the very edge of this. I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to set this down carefully. I'm going to hold this end of the stencil up so it doesn't fall on top of that. And also when you're working with stencils that have these teeny little holes, sometimes you feel like you're squeezing paint through and then you take a look and not that much paint has gone through. So you really have to do, you really do have to pay attention to what you're doing. Now you can see that I missed some spots here. So I'm going to carefully lay this down here and just get some splotches on there, and I think we're good. And now we have to be patient again and let this dry. This is dry. I'm going to move on to the next layer of paint now. I'm using a stencil that's even larger. There's more space in this stencil, more open space, which is what you want to go for. And I'm still going to be going with some pretty intense colors, but after this we're going to start to tone them down. So I'll put a little bit here on my plexiglass. Just going to set this down carefully. And when you do this, you don't want to press too hard or pull up too hard on the stencil because you've already got 2 layers of paint on here. This stencil to me has such a groovy 1960s, 1970s kind of look to it. I'm going to lift this up carefully. Press it down here. I'm peeling this stencil back a little bit to make sure that I've got everything. I think I've got most of this. Okay, now we have to be patient again and let this dry. We are now at the last stencil layer of paint, and I'm going lighter. I'm going to use this very pale light pink for this particular layer, and I'm also going to use a stencil that has a lot of big wide open spaces in it. So I'm going to roll out some of this pale pink. And roll it right onto this. And that looks pretty good. So we let this dry, and then we're going to put the final pickup layer on. We're done with the stencils at this point. All right, this is dry. Let's put the last layer of paint on here. I'm going to go with a milky white color and brayer this out. This layer of paint is now going to start to transfer its moisture into the layers of paint below it. So here's my watercolor paper. I'm going to place this on top, and we're going to need to leave this here for some time because we need to be able to pick up all of these layers of paint. So in a case like this, I'm going to put some books on top of this, and I will be back. It's been about 45 minutes to an hour since I put that last layer of paint on. Now when you have this many layers of paint, you should go slowly and really put your hand down on the plate, because I'm actually putting in effort to do this. And some of the paint from the very first layers is sticking to the plate. It's very gummy. That's okay if tiny little pieces like that come off. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh, this is so pretty. I love how all these swirls are in here, and you have these little diagonal chunky bits. It's really a pretty and funky look. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson about how to use multiple layers of paint and how to just do one pull. If you're interested in getting my free supply list, below this video in the description there's a link. You just click on it and this will be sent to you right away. This supply list, I put a lot of work into this. This is about 10 pages long. It shows all the supplies that I use in my videos and also in my gel printing practice. I devote about 3 pages just to paint, what kind of paints you should get, what brands, what colors, because choosing the right paint is super important. Other supplies that you need, and then other things that are optional that you don't really have to spend money on, but if you feel like it, you can. So again, just go to the description below this video and click on the link, and this will be sent to you right away. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more gel printing goodness from me, then please subscribe and you'll be notified about new videos in the future.